Hi and welcome to FlashSnake. FlashSnake is a Snake's implementation which has been written in ActionScript 3, which is the object-oriented language of Flash. Now I'm just going to give you a real quick tour of the user interface of FlashSnake. There's basically two areas of the screen. The first area is what's known as the display area, which is what I'm showing with the mouse right here. And this is basically where we're going to see the image and the actual snake evolve, as well as some things such as the energy, force field, and the actual image itself. The second area of the screen, the second major area I should say, is the control area. And you can see the control area is backed by a gray backing here. And that basically controls the parameters of the program itself. So I think the best way to show you how to go about doing this is to basically just go ahead and do it. So as you can see up here, everything has tooltips on it. So if you hover over a certain area of the screen or a certain control, you're going to get a tooltip, which will show you what that particular control does. Now, the first thing we're going to do is let me load up a different picture. So if I hit load, of course, this brings up a load dialog. And let's see, let's just go ahead and pull up the man profile, which is basically a line drawing of a man's face. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a snake segmentation of this drawing here. Now, let me just show you a real quick tour of the controls right now. So the display, this panel over here, the display panel, can basically show you a couple of things. And this controls, as the name implies, the display, which is shown right here. So the first thing is this is the image that we're seeing. Now we can also see the energy, which is the potential function which has been created from the image, and we can also see the force if we select this, which is basically the first derivative, the first spatial derivative of the energy. Then the other things that we can do here is once we actually draw a snake in here, which we'll show you how to do in a second, you can change the color of the segmentation of the snake, and you can also change the width of the snake. And you can choose to show or not show knots. And again, we'll see what knots are in just a second. Now let's just go back to the image right now for a second. So basically what we want to do is we want to draw what are known as knots, or add what are known as knots. And knots are basically the computational molecules which make up a snake. And the way we do that is we shift right click. We shift left click on the drawing itself. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put down a couple of knots. So there's one knot, another knot, another knot, another knot, another knot, another knot, another knot, so on and so forth. And as you can see, as I add each knot, it's basically completing a snake for me over here. And let's just go ahead and add a couple that are here. Now, these knots are actually adjustable, so you can pick them and move them around to adjust them as we see fit. Maybe this one needs to go up a little bit more here. This one's a little bit far out. Okay, that looks pretty good to me now. And as you notice, when you select a knot, it shows up in green. And the position is shown up here of the selected knot. So as I change this knot, you can see that the position is changing up here, the position of the knot. Now, as you know, the more computational molecules we have in a snake, the finer the detail is going to be when in the actual segment. So rather than have to put in all these knots by hand, there's a real quick way to do it. And the quick way to do it actually is this button here under the knots panel, which is called multiply knots. And since this is a fairly large image, let's multiply this, the number of knots, and let's create 200 knots. And so if we hit multiply, you can see that there have been many more, actually 200 knots, which have been added to this snake. Now, let me just talk real quick about the snake panel over here. Now, each one of these knots is associated with an elasticity, which is an alpha value, basically, and also a rigidity, which is a beta value. Now, I'm just going to leave them in their defaults right now, but know that you can actually select one of the knots here and change the elasticity or rigidity and apply it to that specific knot that you've selected. Or you can change the elasticity and rigidity and apply them to all the knots which are here. But I'm not going to do that right now. Let me just go over to this screen right here, which is the potential function creation panel. and that panel will show you, will actually specify the parameters which will create the potential function. And to show you the way this works, I'm just going to show you the energy function right now for a second. And let me just unshow the knots so you can see the potential function a little bit more. Now, the potential function has a what's known as a scale space continuum on it, and that's basically a blurring of the energy function. And as I hit this scale space continuum button, it basically cuts the blur each time I hit it by 50%, and it takes a little while to recalculate the function. And if I do it again, it's going to recalculate. And as you can see, every single time I hit scale space continuum, the potential function gets sharper and sharper. The other thing that I can do is I can also add what's known as the line functional. And the line functional is basically the original intensity of the image, which is added back into the potential function. And I can either add a negative value, which will show up here in just a second, or I can add a positive value. Which after recalculation you can again see that this is the image and this is the energy, and so you can see that there is the grayscale value of the image itself, the intensity that is, has been added to the potential function. Right now I'm just going to leave that at its default, which is 0. And let's come back over here to the image. Now, this snake is not really visible very much. Let's increase the size of the snake, and also let's change the color a little bit. Let's make the color a nice bright red. Yeah, that'll work. And again, I can show the knots. Those are the knots, and this is the actual snake segment color. And actually, let's change this because it's going to get confused with the actual knot color, which I do not want. How about that? That looks pretty good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is shoot my scale space continuum, or blur, all the way up to a 1 level, so we have a nice blurry energy function which can draw in the snake from a large distance. And then I'm just going to hit begin iterating. Now, in this evolution screen over here, there's 2 modes that you can have. One is known as step mode, which basically every time you hit this begin iterating button, it's going to do 1 iteration. But I don't want that. What I want is a continuous iteration at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my time step. And this control is basically 1 over the time step, which means that the higher this number is, the smaller the time step is. Now, if we make the time step too large, we get some instability in the snake, which I might show you a little bit later. But these default settings should work pretty well for everything right now. So let's just start the iteration and show you what we come up with here. So when we start, it's going to calculate the stiffness matrix. And as you can see, it's already starting to move. So the iteration is starting, and you can see that it's done 200 now iterations. So if I hit scale space continuum again, bam, you can see that the energy function has again been made a little bit sharper, and therefore the snake hugs it a little bit tighter. If I hit it again, I'm again going to cut my blur in half, and again you can see that the snake is starting to hug the image a little bit tighter. And let me just take off the knots here so you can see exactly what it's doing. Just do it one more time, and there we go. It's even tighter. And one last time, and that should just about do it. Now, as you can see, in certain areas here, for example, the face right here, the snake hasn't actually hugged the desired boundary. Now, what we can do is we can do the show knots here, and we can grab this snake and actually move it as the snake is iterating. And as you can see, that made it snap to that boundary, but it got rid of this one. So let's just do that over here. Need to come out a little bit more. That looks pretty good. And there you have it. And actually, it's not really wanting to stick to that boundary, is it? Let's increase the scale space a little bit here. There we go. Much better. Okay. And so there you have it, and that's basically the operation of FlashSnake. Now, it's all interactive. You can change the width of the snake like I'm doing here. You can change the color of the snake if it doesn't quite fit your needs. And are there any other things I want to show you with this? I think that's basically it. That's the basic functionality. You can clear all the knots right here, and you can basically start by drawing another snake. Or if you want, we can load another image. Let's just do a real quick, easy one over here. The shark tooth works pretty good. Okay, and I'm just going to do actually a really, let's move the scale space, continue up, a really coarse snake here. Let's just make 4 points. And make the width a little bit more so we can see it. And let's just do 50 knots. I think that's going to be enough. So we'll multiply the knots, and let's start beginning iterating. And as you can see, the snake is going towards the shark tooth. And actually, I'm going to put this to 100. And what that's going to do is make the time step a little bit larger. So the snake will start moving faster. And as you can see, it's moving quite a bit faster with that. And it's almost to the boundary desired. Let's do scale space continuum, and I'm actually going to show this. That's a good color. Scale space continuum again, and again, and yet again, and we're almost there. And that should just about do it. Let's see if we can get this to stick a little bit better on this end over here. And now you can see why this is called a snake. I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but because the step is so small, sorry, the time step is so large, we're getting a little bit of instability here, and it's causing, let me see if I can increase it a little bit. And it's causing, that's why it's called a snake. You can probably see that. So it kind of wriggles like a snake somewhat when there is instability in the numerical method of this. And that's about it. I'm going to stop that, move that to 200. Kill that, clear. Let's do this one more time. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, move up the scale space just a bit. Multiply my knots, begin iterating, and there you have it. Kabup. And there's our segmented boundary. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.